Hey, Randy Pitchell here, home of Valentine Goose, also known as Star Thinker. Coming at you with another work video. It's kind of a quiet night. I'm not feeling very well tonight, and I'm taking it easy. I've already completed all my tickets and projects, so I'm just getting ahead on some stuff. But yeah, I did, for those of you who, the 7 people who watched the video last night, and I think one of them was me, so I don't think it counts. Um, yeah, I did have a video up last night that I took down. Yeah, I said something I realized when I watched it. I was like, oh, shoot, I shouldn't have said that. And I took it down. Don't want to give anything away. So the 6 people who watched it, there was no video. You did not see anything. There was no video. So that takes care of that. And now I was going to talk a little bit about Copper Dan's hunt. Just a disclaimer, I did not participate in this hunt. I did not see the poem or read the story or anything like that. But I did see the coin, and I knew what the coin, I did read the solution. And yeah, I again, word-based. There's got to be a word for that when you're just telling a story and you got to try to guess where the story goes. It's not really coded. I don't know. I think there's a word for that, but it's just kind of a hidden solution in the story. No ciphers, no GPS, no nothing. But I love the idea of the coin and using the geo marker. I've only climbed 4 14ers in Colorado, but just from watching other people, I know they climb and they go up and they touch the geo marker. That's kind of the thing. Like, oh, I'm on top, and they touch it. Actually, I climbed 3, and one was Mount Evans, so that doesn't count. But excuse me. But I love the idea that the coin sits on that and it points to a direction, and there's a compass, so you know you're looking in the right direction. I just love that idea. I do. I think that's brilliant. I wish it could have lasted longer. People looked at that, I guess, and I didn't participate in a Zoom. It's been a long time since I've been in a Zoom, and it's like, if you're familiar with geomarkers, you might have recognized the little triangle and the date. And yeah, people could have been looking all over for that geomarker. People could have mistook the date for the elevation or something. I think that's a really cool idea. I do. I think that was the best part of the hunt. But as far as, I watched some of the interviews, and my drive in and stuff, and Copper Dan said that the big giveaway was Gitche Gumee. I did grow up like right on the border of the Isabella Reservation, which is a Chippewa reservation. In school, we would have visitors come in, talk to the class, and in Michigan, especially if you live like right next to a reservation, you probably know the word Gitche Gumee. And of course, with the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald, and just by pure coincidence, I watched a special on the Edmund Fitzgerald last night, and it was really interesting. If there's a YouTube channel called Ask a Mortician, and she did a special on bodies in Lake Superior, and how the lake is so cold and the bodies get preserved because she's a mortician. And that's kind of the focus of her videos. But she did talk about the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald and how the legal battles going on with that and stuff. It was really interesting. It was just kind of a coincidence that popped up in my feed. So anyway, getting back to the thing, yeah, Lake Gitche Gumee. There was this, and it's funny because like I'm kind of working on a hunt off and on, and I ran something by my ex roommate, and I was like, if I told you this, and of course I'm all snarky and stuff, I'm like, yeah, let me give you my first clue, and as soon as I said it, she goes, oh, well, that's here, and she named the town and she named the state. And I was like, how in the blazes would you have known that? And She goes, well, have you ever heard of a show called Supernatural? That Supernatural ran for like 20 seasons, and it's got a big following. And I said, yeah, I've heard of it. I've only seen a couple episodes. I don't watch it. And she goes, well, anyone that watches the show Supernatural would have got your clue right off. And, we're talking about millions of people who watch Supernatural. And I'm like, you can't predict things like that. And so thinking like, oh, he'll use the word Gitchigumi, you don't think that there's so many people that know what Gitchigumi means. But I'm glad I ran that by my ex-roommate, because I would have never made the connection between a show I'd never watched. And she explained to me, she's like, well, what you told me, in the show, they have a special connection to that area. And, they visited it several times throughout the history of the show and stuff. And I'm like, I was just blown away that I picked a spot that a popular show, people would have got it right off the bat. So yeah, you just can't predict things like that. The other thing is going up in snow. If you release a hunt in winter and everything's buried in snow, but yeah, they found it. I'm surprised the metal detector couldn't pick up the geo marker, because they're brass, I think. But that would have been cool. I'm putting it under a geocache. And I was reading an account of the Donner Party, and again, ask a mortician. And when they cache stuff, they're like, okay, we got to get rid of some wagons, we got to get rid of some weight, we got valuables. And what they did was they would dig a big pit, and they would bury all their valuables and bury it, and then put a whole bunch of stuff on top of that, like pots and pans and stuff that wasn't valuable to stuff, and then put more dirt on top of that. So then if someone found, like, oh, look, someone buried something here, they'd dig it up and they'd find pots and pans. They'd go, oh, well, this is worthless, and they'd go away. And, the real stuff was underneath. And that's kind of like what you do with the geocache. However, people caught onto that quickly. So if they dug something up and it was worthless, you just had to keep digging. And apparently that's what happened. And so I think that was... Both accounts were brilliant. I'm not a fan of pacing, but I guess if like, because I'm a tall guy and my paces are way different than other people's paces. But I guess if you just send them in a general direction and maybe overcompensate a little bit, you're going to hit whatever these rocks were. And I've been up in that area, because I had family that lived in northern Michigan, and so I've driven that route along the lake many times, and it's really beautiful up there, but I've never stopped really. But yeah, that's a really neat. And I was just thinking, I was looking at my map. I got to update my map. In case you didn't know, I got a map, and I've been putting pins where all the treasure hunts are. So now I got to go and stick a pin up there by Duluth. That was a 6-hour drive for me, so I don't know if I would have figured it out. I would have waited till the weekend or something, but that wouldn't. Apparently, I would have lost, because once it becomes a foot race, you're like, oh, I'm 6 hours away. Someone further out, and I can't believe I was. Like I said, I was watching the show tonight. And I can't believe K-Pro was going to fly in from Las Vegas. I'm like, once it's a foot race, don't even bother. People are going to be close. They're going to call their brother's cousin who lives 5 miles up the road, and it's just going to be a foot race at that point. So anyway, there was 2 things I talked about in my video last night, and one was Copper Dan's hunt, and I can't remember the other one. I don't know. I've been kind of following these questions with Jack, and that's always tough when you're asked questions, and it's almost like. It's almost like he's the creator of the treasure hunt now, because people are trying to get information out of him and it's not working. And it's like when you talk to, I saw the first interview with Copper Dan, like after the fact, and people kept dropping questions, and it's like, what did he say? Something like, well, given enough time, I'll put another gold coin in there. And they're like, oh, another gold coin? That means there's a gold coin already in there. And they kept asking questions that kind of tricked him into revealing information, and that's kind of what I'm seeing. And like I said, Jack took on the role of the treasure creator because now he knows where it is, and people are asking him questions, and he's the one dealing out these answers that are sometimes cryptic, but sometimes the answer, if you answer in a certain way, if it's a yes or no question, and if the answer is no, it has no consequences. But if the answer is yes and it has consequences, and he goes, I don't think I'll answer that, then the answer is probably the one with the consequences. And that's always the hard part about doing an interview with a treasure hunt is, people say, well, did you hide it in a city park? And you're like, well, I can't answer that. If it wasn't in a city park, it's just like, I don't know. The absence of information is sometimes information. And you got to look at, different ways. Ask the binary questions that have two sides. One side inconsequential that has no bearing on anything that, hey, if it wasn't that, why couldn't he answer? And the other side has consequences, and you're like, if you ask the question in the right way, he might say, oh, you know what, I'm not going to answer that. And then you got your answer, because if it wasn't consequential, you would have answered. So I see that a lot. When I was watching that interview, when Copper Dan went on to announce his hunt, that's what I saw, these questions, and I could just see he's like, oh, I don't want to answer that, but now they ask the question, if I don't answer it, they're gonna know what the answer is, So what do you do? Yeah, or you have a slip of the tongue like another gold coin. And that might have been how Forrest slipped up, because Jack said Forrest slipped up at some point, and he might have said something as innocent as I don't know, something that just was innocent, but in context it revealed something else, and so I think that might have been what the slip up was. Anyway, I thought that was really interesting. I haven't been live, but I've been watching, because I'm here at work at night, and I'm losing my voice. I've been watching the videos, when I get in. Usually people are getting better at sticking to an hour long format or 2 hour long format. So I get in, I'm like, oh, look, they're live, and I'll turn it on. And they're like, well, it's good night, everybody. And I'm like, oh, I just missed the whole show. So then I go back and watch it, and I usually have to wait a few hours. So if you try to watch it right away, the chat doesn't show up. But if you wait a few hours, the chat shows up. So sometimes they might mention something that's going on in the chat, and you kind of want to see that. But anyway, yeah, I love the coin idea. I love the idea of something on the ground. I visit the Grotto of the Redemption all the time. There's a design on the ground. If you put that design in a book, and someone has to stand over the design and match it, and then something in the book tells you to go in another direction. I mean, that's such a cool idea. And I did mention that I might steal that, but I can't figure out how to do it without looking like I stole it. But no, that's a cool idea. That's a good boots on the ground idea. It's one of those things that you wouldn't know until you got there. And these guys, they knew there was a geo marker under the snow somewhere, so they just kind of fudged it. And but if you had something that wasn't as readily recognized as a geo marker, I think that would have been even cooler. But anyway, that was my 2 cents. I do congratulate Copper Dan. I don't know, like I said, I didn't read the story or the poems. I don't know what he could have done different to stretch it out. It sounds like there was a lot of clues in there that pointed to the Great Lakes and the Duluth area. So, and again, wordplay. I just think wordplay is the best way for a group to solve something. And I don't know. When it's wordplay and people, especially when you have people from all over the nation in your group, you might have that one guy from the Upper Peninsula that's like, that Edmund Fitzgerald song. I was alive in 1974 and 75, and I remember, the original version of that song is like 45 minutes long, and they played it on the radio every 2 minutes, and it's like that's all you heard for weeks was Edmund Fitzgerald this and Edmund Fitzgerald that, and Gitche Gumee came up all the time. So if you're in that region, and if you have a group of people and someone was from that region, they're going to be like, oh, Gitche Gumee is Lake Superior. Yeah, and don't say Mackinac, it's Mackinac. Little things, little regional things that, someone from Florida is going to know something about Florida. Someone from the West is going to know something about the West. And so the wordplay ones, I think those are the most designed just to be group solved. And I know that's the other thing I remember talking about last night was the group solves. I have no problem with people getting together as groups. I do think that if you are in a group, there should be some kind of agreement, because everyone's going to get ideas from everyone else. And then if one person goes and gets it, sure, you can be altruistic and say, yeah, but we all helped each other. But one person goes and gets it and then doesn't share with anybody else. That kind of rubs me the wrong way. Of course, if you got a bigger group, what's the point? But and like those guys said, they're going to share for a week and then decide what happens. But at least they're sharing. If you got a larger group where it's every band for themselves, and someone has an aha moment and they don't share it with the group and they take off and get it, they had help with the group. And I guess it is what it is. But if I was going to be in a group, I would still want to not so much maybe share, like if I came up with an idea and then someone else went and got something, at least give the group credit, write down the names and say, well, here's the group that worked on it, and we all came up with it together. And I don't know, the group concept I have no problem with. It's within the group. I don't know, it's the every man for himself concept I have a little bit of an issue with, but like I said, it is what it is. But I was going to say something about that. But yeah, the wordplay ones I think are the, if you got word plays and no ciphers at all and no math and no trigonometry and no fractal codes and stuff, it's just going to be, the group is just going to get together and say, okay, yeah, what's this word mean? And the guy from Michigan's going to go, oh, I know that one. And then they're going to be, well, what do these parts mean? And then the guy from New York City's going, oh, I know what that is. And it's just going to get solved because you got your pooling experience, and that's just, I don't know, word based. I guess I think that's why some of these hunts are going so fast, is because they're word based. But in any case, it's been a fun week. Busy week, and as far as I'm going, I know I'm wearing a blue shirt and I hate blue because look, I got all this blue behind me. I got all this blue to work on. I got blue over there and blue over here, and but that's just me getting ahead on work because like I said, there's no tickets so far tonight, and I count myself very lucky for that. Anywho, anything else got to say? I can't think of anything, so I'm going to wrap it up. And mind the Utah State Police. Trust me on that.